Slurpty diddly do, my G's. I hope you're doing wonderful. Check these out. We've got some brand new label t-shirts. This one is the dark chocolate one in medium. And we've already shipped some out to Australia, to the Americas. Say to the US, I mean. We've shipped some out to Israel as well. I've got a supporter there. And we've shipped some out to Germany. And yeah, thank you to everyone who's already grabbed one. They are really, really nice. They are 100% cotton, made in Honduras, and it's a great way to support the channel. If you want to grab one off my website, there's 3 colours available, and yeah, they're looking great already. I'm really enjoying wearing this one. But anyway, let's get into today's video, and we're going to do a little processing video today, because I made a little post recently on the channel, and I asked if anyone's got any suggestions for videos, you know, and Dada said bus processing. If you could explain or go through all of the buses you used and explain what you are trying to do with the effects you use, would be awesome. Much appreciate it, dude. So obviously that's quite a broad topic, because it depends what you're bus processing, you know, what actually you are processing. So I thought for this one I'll just do drum processing, and I'll just walk through what I tend to do these days on my drum bus. And spoiler alert, it's not going to be some magic formula that's going to save your drums. You still need to get all the fundamentals properly lined up. But without further ado, let's do a little bit of drum processing. And I say without further ado, but I just want to give a couple more shout outs actually, because I've had a lot of comments recently. So big ups to Mike Briggs. Big ups to Bob. Said I look like a white Snoop Dogg on one of the older videos, on the pad video I did. Shout out to Polly Wobble, who talks about shouting joy to the Lord and all the earth burst into jubilant song with music. DJ Narkin says, yo, that's tight. I think he's talking about this shirt. And oh no, he's talking about another shirt that Digipack sent me. Because, yeah, sorry, lots been happening this week. Lots of different t-shirts flying around all over the place. There's a bit of a t-shirt tsunami happening. Feral, dude's a genius. Thank you, sir. Husky, Tristan, Clefane, on a really old video I did with the banana. It's my most popular video. I'm running around with a banana. I should do that more often, I suppose. Yo, fam, great video. Super inspired. Great basses and awesome vibes, dude. Even a first-time subscriber now. Thanks, bruv. Welcome to the channel, TC Productions. Great to have you here. And also, that one, the one Jet as well, says he doesn't have phase plant, but you left a comment anyway, just for the algorithm. Well, that is very much appreciated. And yeah, if you guys want to leave a like and a comment, always helps me out a lot. Slim Pickle as well says a tutorial how to look slick AF in photos would be nice. You just buy one of these, mate. Honestly, once you put this on, your muscles grow bigger. Like everything just kind of changes. You know, it's really game changing, this t-shirt. Anyway, Pepsi Man says gain staging as well. He wants a video on gain staging. Perhaps I'll do that next, but we'll start with the bussing first. Also, Digipack says what are good transitions to make it easier for a DJ to mix. That's an interesting idea for a video topic. Anyway, yeah, sorry. Thanks for all your comments, and sorry about me shilling products to you always. It's just because I'm a very niche, small channel on YouTube, so I don't get paid for views. It's a very, very, very minute amount, so I have to advertise my t-shirts, merchandise, products, preset packs, samples, and Patreon, and one-on-one lessons. I have to talk about it, otherwise, yeah, rent won't get paid, so needs must. Anyway, let's dive in today, and I'm going to show you how I process my drums at the moment and what I think is really important to pay attention to while you're doing it. So let's go. Alright, so here we've got a drum loop for a work in progress I'm currently yeah, messing around with. And I've just deleted all the other channels to make it easier and just kept the only the drums open in Logic. So my ethos when it comes to processing a bus, and in this case we're going to talk about processing a drum bus, okay? We can do another video, another point on processing a lead bus or a bass bus, whatever. You know, concepts are quite similar though. But yeah, my real ethos is you can really over process stuff too often and make it worse. That's what I've learned in my journey, and I process things often a little bit less now. And when I do put on a plugin, it's specifically for an exact purpose that I can articulate. It's not like I don't do this thing of like more plugins the better to keep changing it, and because you get to a point where you sort of start to lose the quality of the original file so much, you know. So I'm very, very intentional with the plugins that I put on. That's the idea. Okay, so if we talk about a drum loop, so we can talk about putting a little bit of processing on the group, like the snare group, then the percussion group, the cymbal group, and then some processing on the final master drum bus group. So talking about the bussing in general as well, like the routing, you know. This is the actual beat. If I give you a little listen. I've chosen the samples that I liked that fit together well, and I've applied some processing to the samples to like make them kind of fit with each other, you know. So I've already done a lot of I guess you would say processing on the layers, but we're only going to talk about the processing on the buses today. Okay, but really a lot of the magic especially in drums for me happens when you choose the right sounds to begin with. You choose a great combination of sounds that work well together. You shape the transients, EQ out the parts where there's low end that you don't need it. You get all the volumes right on all your different layers, and yeah, choose great quality sounds to begin with. You can get most of the way there just doing that. Okay, so that's really the hard work. That's the like 80% or 90% of the work for me, is just the layering and the composition of the drums, sound selection. That's really, 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 really the most important thing. So like I said, now with the actual processing on the buses, it's just like a little bits of enhancement here and there that we can do. So let's do the snare first. So I've got like one main snare, a snare layer, and then a clap. Okay, so the only thing I'll typically do on my snare channel is the first thing is just to EQ out the low end always, if there doesn't need to be any in there with the snare. There's a little bit of sort of rumble. The main fundamentals here, so we don't need anything below that. So processing it in a way just to like clean things up essentially. So once I've got that on there, I can do another little thing that I like to do for the snare, which is a little bit of transient shaping for the tail. And I taught one of my students, Jonathan, this morning, so he already knows it. If you're watching, big ups to you, John. Love you very much. And here is the sustain on the... This is the Kilohertz transient shaper. It's free. It's the best one I've used. Okay, and if you take the sustain down, it obviously makes it really, really short at the end, you know. But if you've got multiple snares with different layers, you shorten them all together. It's gonna like fade them out all the layers like at the same time. So it's gonna feel more like it's sort of one unit, one snare. So I love to just do a little bit of taking down the sustain on the snare bus. Just sort of tightens it up. Then I won't really do anything more to it really. You know, I've got a great snare to begin with. I've done a bit of cool layering. I'm gonna sort of leave it there. I'm not really gonna process the snare anymore. I don't like to over process the snare really. I'll just pick the right one. So we can move on. Percussion. This is like where I've got some layers that are like. In the drums, they need to have a bit of mid-range, so not just the hi-hats and the rides, but things that have more like, you know, like a shuffly break, or this sort of like cinematic percussion stuff as well, where you need a bit of the mid-range in. And so here we're gonna low cut it again, but obviously we're gonna make sure to leave that the main mid-range parts that we want in there, you know. So if we just have a listen. Okay, so we'll just cut it around there for now, for example, and we'll probably leave that as it is. I don't know exactly. This is the kind of thing where processing this particular part of the track is going to be really dependent on what else is going on in the song. Okay, so because I don't really know what else is going on in the song yet, I'll sort of just leave it like that, just a little control low cut, and that's going to be it. And that goes through into the master drum bus. Okay, so the snare, just set my output of the snare group to go to the master drums. Same with the perks, same with the cymbals, all going into the master drums. Okay, and the kick is just on its own going into the master drums. There's only one kick sample. So one more thing to note, you can see here I've clipped all the channels, you know. So I've got the fat effects, which you can use any clipper. Doesn't matter what clipper you use; they're all the same, really. You know, hard clipping, mix all the way up, output at 0, and it just makes sure that anything, particularly the snare, you'll see. You know, if I didn't have the clipper on, you know, the snare's hitting right in the red. Put the clipper on, you know it's going to be at 0. And what I love to do after the clipper is put on a little 0.01 negative gain. So you can see here now the output reads -0. It doesn't read just 0. If I put the gain off, it reads out 0. And if I do it on, just -0.01, it goes just under 0. So it'll sort of go through into the next group without any back end normalization or anything. You can be sure that it's just going to go through cleanly, you know. And what have you lost? 0.01 of volume. You won't even notice it. So it's a cool little tip to use. I find that it just makes the sound actually higher quality when I do that, you know. So I try to do that as often as possible whenever I can remember. So then the next thing, we can process the cymbals. These ones we can do a little bit more on, and on these guys I'm going to low cut again, but I could low cut a little bit higher than on the percussion group here, for example, you know. So we'll do it in context. I like to take them up, you know, sometimes a little bit higher than average. Around 1K is pretty high enough already. What that's going to do is going to free up a lot of mid-range for the rest of my elements in my track. So depends what I've got going on in my track. Again, I could leave a bit of mids in, or I could go higher up. All kind of depends. But for now, I quite like it high up. It still sounds pretty good. So that's going to be on there. And for the cymbals, I will do another little bit of processing on these. And what I like to do on these is a bit of, actually a bit of compression. So this is one of the cases where a compressor is really useful, because you've got a lot of different cymbals happening. There's different hi-hats. There's different like ride loops. There's a lot of things happening at the same time. And so sometimes during the loop, the volume might get really high when there's like, you know, 3 or 4 different hi-hats all hitting at the same time. So the compressor is used to control the overall balance of the whole cymbal group. So just a normal compressor, nothing fancy, just taking the attack down a little bit on the threshold until the needle starts to move. So let's just solo them a little bit. So we just get a little bit of movement. We'll just catch those loud peaks and control them. And the whole cymbal group then will just be a little bit more controlled. And again, for this type of bus processing, on the drums, on cymbals, you know, I don't want to really do anything else to them. I don't want to distort them. I don't want to I want them to be quite natural for me, you know. So I try to leave the sound, the quality of the cymbal. I choose good quality cymbals to begin with, and then I let them do the work. So I don't really affect them, to be honest. It's just control. You can see my processing is not that interesting or exciting. It's just sort of controlling things, you know. That's the key, you know. So again, that cymbal bus will then go into the drum bus, okay? And then the kick, as you can see here, the kick is just going to go straight into the drum bus. So, you know, processing the kick, obviously, I've literally just done a small EQ dip in the mid-range, and then just controlled the volume with the gain. With the kick, I don't EQ the low end out. I like to leave all of the low end in, okay? I like all the subby part in the kick. I think it's important to have that in there to carry out the weight of the kick. and it won't interfere with your sub as long as you're sidechaining it nicely. So I like to leave all the low end of my kick in. It feels like the quality always stays higher. So leaving that in, then we've got everything then is running into the drum bus, and then obviously again we clip the bus, because this one, you know, it's the final drum bus, so it's obviously going to be really, really loud if I don't clip it, you know, because you've got everything playing at once. So got to clip that and then make sure that it's nice and controlled. And yeah, so we can process the drum bus a little bit. And again, a great way that we can just do some really, really subtle control kind of processing. Again, I'm not going to compress this. This is the important part. I never want to compress the drum group, because what that's going to do it's going to take down the volume of the kick, essentially. It's going to notice the kick is, you can see every time the kick happens, it's really going to bring down the volume of the drums, you know? And my kick is the loudest part of the track, so I'm always going to leave that like loud. So that's why I never compress the drum group. Otherwise, I'm losing the volume on my kick, you know? So I always avoid compressing the drum group. The only thing I will do to it is give it some saturation. But one thing we can clean it up with first, obviously I'm not going to low cut it either, because obviously the kick's in there. I'm not going to like destroy the kick low end. But one thing I can do is just EQ the sides. So mid-side EQing just the sides. I don't need to take all of the sides out, but just taking a little bit out in the low end is going to like clean out the space that in the low end a little bit more, where it doesn't need to be stereo down there, okay? Because realistically a speaker can't replicate a stereo image that low anyway, so you free yourself up some extra headroom if you'd put that on. So always do that. Even if you're not sure, just slap one on. You know, you don't have to go up to 160, you can go up to just 100, that's usually enough. But yeah, this one sounds pretty good around here. Okay, so that's that part done. Then I will do a little bit of saturation on the drums to bring them together. So this is where, you know, where people might say, you know, compress your drums to glue them together. I'll argue, no, don't do that, because you'll change the dynamics. But if you really want to glue them together a little bit more, slap on a bit of saturation and just saturate the high end and all of the details in the high end of the kick, in the high end of the snare, in all of the cymbals. You'll saturate them all together at the same time, and then they'll feel like they've got a bit of glue going on, you know, they'll feel like it's all coming together. So you can use the like Isotope Trash, that's a great one. I don't have it, but if you've got that, it's probably maybe as good as or better than this one. This is just a free one. Any multi-band one is going to be better, because if you saturate the low end, you're going to start to mess with your kick clarity. So I tried to just avoid that and only multi-band saturate the high end, around 800 or 1000. So let's do it with the Wings Fire. This is a free one, which sounds pretty good. We're just going to drive it up first, nice and loud. Okay, now I'm just going to mix it off a little bit like this. Okay, and if I A-B that. Yeah, it really, in my opinion, yeah, adds quite a lot of an extra nice little volume boost there, and glues it all together a bit. And that's pretty much the only processing I'll actually do on the buses, you know, so it's very minimal, okay? So going back to the point I said earlier, choosing the great quality samples, layering them together well, you know, using the transient shaper on the layers, using getting the right volume levels, EQing the layers and everything properly to clear out any mud, doing all of that work. That's literally the 80 or 90% of hard work that you need to do to get a great drum bus, for example. And similar concept apply with a bass bus or a lead bus, you know. Obviously we can go a bit more crazy with effects on leads and like do more kind of random creative stuff. And you could do that as well on the drums if you like. But this is like the clean way of processing that I wanted to share. And that's pretty much all I would do. And then for one little piece of interesting joy we can do is we can create a little parallel layer. So what I like to do is bounce out the whole drum group as like a fresh break. Okay, so we've got the whole break here, or with all its processing on and everything. And then what we'll do is this will be like a nuke layer, or you can call it whatever you want. It's going to be just an extra layer. And we can program this one to go back into the drum group as well. So we can, you know, control it all with the master on the group as well. And then on this one, what we're going to do is we're going to do some creative processing on this and then blend it in the background to create a little parallel kind of texture in the background. Okay, so drawing on some of the plugins I've enjoyed recently, the free ones, let's use the Spectral plugins, the OCS 45 tape emulation, and mess with the sound like this first. And I'm going to turn it down already, and I'm going to play it in with the original drums, because the idea is I want the new harmonics to actually fit with the new drums and actually bring it to a new level. So we'll cycle through some presets together. I quite like the subtle movement there, so I've got that on. How does it sound on its own? Yeah, I like that. I like that. So what I'm going to do, once I've run it through the tape, and there's no formula for this really, you can do whatever you like to create this kind of extra parallel layer. But I think this is a good combination to do a bit of tape, for example, and then after that we can do a bit of convolution reverb as well. So let's do the white blur perhaps. So again, we'll see how much we want to mix it in, but let's play this in context again. So that sounds pretty good. I've put on a fair bit of widening with the convolution reverb. And then next, what we'll do for this one is I'll actually compress it a bit to give it a bit more, to make it a bit flatter, the volume kind of the dynamics, you know, flatten it out a bit. So let's just apply a little bit of compression. So it's a bit flatter. It's not like super kick snare heavy. It's more like kind of balanced. We'll just check that that works in the mix with everything as well. Sounds pretty good to me. And then lastly, we'll EQ that out some of the low end as well, because obviously, you know, we want to keep the power of the original kick and the original snare like without too much interruption. So we've got to take some low end out on this layer. Okay, and I like it there. I'm going to add another one though, because I want to get a little bit more precise, and I want to do another smooth cut here, just scooping out a little bit more, just smoothly as it goes, you know. I like that. And then the final thing is just to mix the volume again. So we'll just play with the volume on the channel here. So if I do a little A/B. Okay, you can hear it's added like a fresh kind of room sound on everything and made the whole stereo impact like a lot more exciting. Okay, it's quite subtle obviously, but the idea is that it is in the background and it is subtle, but all the details add up together to make the processing sound more professional, you know? So that's the nuke layer then, done. And so this is the one where, you know, if you really want to do over-the-top creative plugins and try all your weird plugins out, do it on that in a controlled way. Go crazy on it, then compress it and take some of the low end down and take the volume down, you know? And you've done it on a separate layer, on a separate sound, you know, so you're not affecting the quality of the original ones, especially the kick and the snare. You've retained the original quality within the kick and the snare sample, because that's the key takeaway from this video is you know, the cymbals as well, but especially the kick and the snare. you know, they're generally good enough already to begin with. So any over processing on them with creative stuff will only destroy the power of them, you know. So best to like do your creative stuff on a layer and then blend it in with the mix. That's how I do it anyway, and that's how I process my drums. I probably wouldn't do much more after that. I'd probably I've got to get back into the track and finish composing the rest of it now. But yeah, that's sort of how I do my bus processing for drums. Anyway, if you want me to do another video on like a different type of bus processing on a different group or a different sound, just hit me up in the comments. I'll see what I can do. So massive big ups for watching, my G's. Thanks for all your engagement on the channel as well. All the ideas, all the comments, really, really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe as well if you haven't done that already. Hit the like button and all that. And yeah, obviously just as a reminder as well, you can go up on my website anytime for one-on-one lessons. I do mastering as well. You can just email me if you want any mastering done for your tracks. And yeah, there's brand new goodies on my website. We've got obviously the new t-shirts. We got a brand new sample pack as well, which is really great. That's on there as well. And yeah, phase plant, vital presets, all that kind of good stuff. And oh yeah, lots of stuff happening on the actual label as well at the moment. If you guys ever want to support there, you can head over to our Bandcamp and get some releases there off the label. You can also check out the SoundCloud as well. Follow us on the SoundCloud and Instagram. That also helps us out, and that's free to do. But yes, hope that was a valuable video for you guys today. Much love. Have a great rest of your week. More from me very soon. Peace out. Much love.